you remember that song, very popular song. A Canadian person put it out first. You know, the Rascal Flatts sang it. It was in one of the Toy Story movies? Cars movie. Life is a highway. I mean, in the song, it doesn't have that part, that second part, with guardrails. But I think that's what Jesus is saying to this young man who comes to him who's been omitted from the inheritance. Jesus doesn't get into the facts and the details and try to determine who's in the right and who's in the wrong from an earthly standpoint. But he does caution the man. He cautions him about something spiritual that we all should take heed of. And he says to him and to the crowd, take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. I'm not sure exactly what would be meant by all kinds of greed, but I think we can expand on that idea somewhat. Because I think there's more than greed that we have to worry about. And although it's the story about a man who Jesus was cautioning about that one particular thing, there are many things that we should be on guard about as followers of Jesus Christ. Greed is one of the 7 deadly sins. And that's a real thing. 7 deadly sins. It goes back to, so they can trace it back to the 6th century and one of the popes. But he got it from someone in the 4th century. And then Thomas Aquinas in the 13th century put the title to them, I think, of cardinal sins. And then they were capital sins. And the English came along. Thomas Aquinas was Italian. The English came along and they were using the word capital for capital punishment. And so that's kind of how they became the 7 deadly sins. Thomas Aquinas meant them as they are the underlying sins that lead to so many other sins. They came to mean deadly sins, those worst things that we can do that put us in danger of hellfire. 7 deadly sins. And they are pride, envy, wrath, greed, lust, gluttony, and sloth. And gluttony includes as well as drunkenness. Overdoing it about anything to satisfy yourself. It has a little different meaning than what we think today. And of course, wrath is anger. 7 deadly sins. Life is a highway with guardrails. I think what Jesus was saying to this young man and to the crowd, and what I want to say to you, is be careful how you travel this highway of life. That there are guardrails. And we know where those guardrails are because we all know about those 7 things. And maybe you think of more. Maybe you would add more to that. Those times that we're going along in our life and we realize, maybe I shouldn't be thinking this way. Maybe I need to deal with this. Maybe I better not keep going in the direction I'm going, because if I do, things are going to get bad for me and for other people. And so I need to pull back. I need to turn and get back on the right path of righteousness, we might call it. Life is a highway with guardrails. Sometimes we think in greedy ways. Sometimes we think in prideful ways. I think pride is the kind of things that puts us in a position where nobody can, as a song says nowadays, nobody can tell us anything. Because we know more. We're higher up. I hope that you do not come in here feeling that way. I hope when you come to worship and you listen to a sermon, that not only your ears are open, but your heart is open.
Amen.
And you're saying to yourself, God has put this person here, and maybe he has something to say to me that I need to listen to. But if we're a prideful person, we sit there and we say, well, I sure hope he entertains me today. I sure hope he jumps up and down. I hope he screams. I hope he runs across the stage. I hope he makes a scene of things, and then I'll be entertained. That's not why I stand up here Sunday after Sunday.
Amen.
But if you think you know more, so be it. But you shouldn't waste your time this hour on Sunday. Life is a highway with guardrails. We need to be careful about many things. We need to be on guard. When that temptation comes, we know it, we sense it inside of ourselves to take a course that God does not want us to take. And so we have to get back on the right path and the right road. And so Jesus then says to the young man also, or to the crowd, beware of all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. There is a spiritual hit and run in life, where we hit the guardrail, we go through the guardrail, we back it up, and we go on. But in the process, oftentimes, we left something very important behind. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. Well, I've got my possessions, so I'm going to go on. But we've left behind something very key, something very important. We've ejected from the vehicle the soul itself. And we might look fine to everybody else. We look around and say, oh, that person's doing great. They're in good health. They're driving a fine car. They've got a nice house. Everything's on it. They're just, God has really blessed that person. And they may be on their way to a place you would never want to go. As Jesus says in another place, what does it profit a person to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Be careful. Life is a highway, but there are guardrails. Beware of greed.
Amen.
Pull back a little bit, young man. Maybe someone has done you an injustice, but be careful. Now it might seem worth it, but in the long run, it would not. When we leave behind that very important thing. It's like sometimes I drive from Williamsburg up here on a daily basis to go to work. And in this modern society in which we live, I do not have a desktop computer. I carry a notebook computer. So I work at home and I work at the office, and I have gotten in my car, driven the 50 minutes or maybe more, depending on the traffic, gotten to the office, opened my briefcase, and there's no computer in it. And I need that computer to be able to do my work. It's been a while since I forgot my wallet, but that happens on occasion too. If you go on in life and you forget your soul, you'll get to your destination and you'll realize I've left the most important thing behind. I got here in good health and I got here with my wealth, but something very important has been left behind. So Jesus tells a parable to try to illustrate it even more. There was a rich man. A rich man. He had wealth. And his land, he had land, produced abundantly. And so he said to himself, I'll tear down my barns. He had barns. And I'll build bigger barns. And he said, I'll put my grain and all my goods into the barn. Not just his grain, not just the produce, but he said, I want to build them big enough to put everything I own. He went beyond even what he thought he needed, which he really didn't need in the first place. And I think Jesus is okay with that story and might want us to be okay with it until the man gets to a certain point in the story. And that's what he says next. I think Jesus is okay if the man says, it's my land, it's my riches, my crops, my produce, my grain, my barns. And then he says, and he said to his soul, my soul. My soul. The thing is, all of that belongs to him, but that soul does not belong to him. That soul that keeps you alive does not belong to you. In the natural sense of it. We don't, as human beings, set out with life. We start living. It's a loan. It's a rental. That soul doesn't belong to you. It belongs to God.
Amen.
That's very important to remember. That's why we call it eternal life. It's something more than what we have here. Once you have eternal life, you own it. You have it. Remember, that's why God put Adam and Eve out of the garden. They weren't ready for it. They could go on living, but they would not have life. So you may look at people and they may have great health care. When they get sick, they can go to the doctor, they can get anything taken care of, but they don't necessarily have life. They may have the greatest security system. They may be able to see people coming from 20 miles away. It might be like Fort Knox at their house. But that doesn't mean they have life. They may be able to fulfill every possible wish they want. They can have all the excitement every day, 24 hours a day, but they yet don't have life. Living is not life. It's a type of life, but it's a rental. And who owns it? You possess it, but everything you possess, you don't own. Amen? Amen. If I come down there and give you my watch, I want it back. Unless I say, here, this is your watch, you can have it, you can keep it, take it forever. Then it's your watch. But just because you possess it doesn't mean you own it. So you possess life as a human being, but you don't own life. And so what does God say to the man? After he says, I will say to my soul, you fool. You fool. My soul, you fool. This very night, your life is being demanded of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? You can't have the good things of life without the soul. You can't have the good things of life without the soul. Everybody wants the good things of life. That's a phrase we use, isn't it? The good things of life. I want the good things of life. But if you've left your soul behind, if there is no soul, if there is no life, no eternal life, you can't have the good things of life without the soul. Because that's the most precious thing you can have. First of all, that is eternal life. To take what God has given us and to convert that from just living into eternal life is the greatest thing you can have. That's the best thing of life. So if you don't have that, you can't have the good things of life because you missed the most important one. You missed the soul. As long as you have the soul, as long as you have life, you have the possibility of having more things in life. Another reason why you can't have the good things of life without the soul. As long as you're living, you have that possibility. Even if you have nothing. If I have life, I've got something. And if it's mine, I'm going on forever. And there's going to be better things down the road. You can't have the better things of life without the soul. And also, if you have eternal life, if you have the soul, you're not so much worried about those good things of life anymore. Because that eternal life is so much greater than all that other stuff that you don't even worry about it. not concerned about it. I'm not saying you don't want to eat, you don't want to starve yourself, you don't want to be able to get health care when you need it. There are some basic necessities that we all want and we all need and we all try to work for. But we don't take it to extreme where it drives us nuts because we can't have this or can't have that. Because we have the best thing in life. We have the most important thing in life, eternal life. That soul belongs to me now.
Amen.
It's no longer on loan. I don't have to worry about that day that will come when I will be on my deathbed. Because I know that's going to be just a temporary thing. That death is going to be. But there is eternal life. And then Jesus winds it up by saying, it's kind of like the lesson that he is teaching. So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God. So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God. The man took care of his land. I bet it was well groomed all the time. He took care of his barns. He took care of his crops. He took care of his grain. He took care of all his goods. But he didn't take care of his soul. When it comes to your soul, don't scrimp. Don't nickel and dime it. Don't half-step with your soul. Don't put so much time and energy into all those other things and trying to get those better things in life and just say, well, I'll take care of the soul another day, another time. I'll get serious about that when I can't do anything else. Don't scrimp with the care of your soul. There's always the opportunity as long as we are living. How can you be rich toward God? How can you be rich toward God? He wasn't rich toward God. I don't think Jesus is just talking about wealth, although I think he is talking about wealth. What does he say to people who have wealth? Oftentimes he tells them to give up everything they have to follow him. He reminds them that they can't serve God and mammon. But what does he say to us? Many of us, I'm sure, are not rich. But we can still be rich toward God, can't we?
Amen.
We can still present our bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. Everything, whatever I've got, God, it is yours. We can still love the Lord our God with all our heart, all our mind, all our soul, and all our strength.
Amen.
We can do that no matter how much we possess, or what we have, or how much talent we have, or how much wealth we have. We can be the type of people that take seriously what Jesus said about not worrying about the body, what we'll eat, or what we'll drink, or what we'll put on. We can take him seriously about that. Oh no, he was just joking about that part when he said that. He was just joshing. He was joshing here, but he was serious here. And then he's joshing here, and then he's serious here. And I get to determine when he's joshing and when he's serious. That's my role. No. We can seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and let God do the rest, to add whatever he wants to add to us. So the faith is more than just going through the motions, more than keeping the commandments. It's being rich toward God and trusting God's goodness and power. It's a lifestyle of service and trust. It's evident in the goals we set and how we try to reach those goals. Life is a highway with guardrails. And I expect when all of us get to our destination, if we started out with a yellow vehicle, you won't be able to recognize it because we've hit those guardrails so many times. We're all going to be tempted. We're going to have dents and dings. God says he'll make all that right. But if when we get there, if we left that most important thing, it's not just going to be that we have dents and dings. That's the most important thing he's going to be looking for. What did you do with that gift I gave you? Remember those talents I gave? Those 2, those 5, that 1? What did you do with it? What did you take that living when you had the chance? Did you make life? Did you convert it into something that would last forever? Did you believe in me and not just in your heart? Because you know faith is not just about your heart, because your heart affects everything. My heart affects my hands and my head and my feet. It affects where I go. It affects what comes out of my mouth. It affects how I treat other people. It affects whether I stand up when I need to stand up or whether I sit down when I need to sit down. It determines whether I run when I need to run or whether I walk when I need to walk. The heart does all that. So we can't just say, well, faith is just a matter of the heart, and then go out and do what we want to do, because that means it's not in your heart.
Amen.
Because if it's in your heart, you go out and do what's in your heart. Amen?
Amen.
So if you're going to leave something behind on this journey of life, don't leave that. Your wealth, when you get there, you won't care about that. You can leave that behind. Some relationship you've got on the side, when you get there, he's not going to care about that. Well, he's going to care about that. Leave that behind. Keep your soul. Leave those things, anything, everything you can leave behind, but don't leave behind your soul. And sometimes it's a trade-off. You can't take both. So if there is some practice in your life that relates to any of those 7 deadly sins or some other thing that you know that you should not be involved in, something that you have put into place, and they say throw the baby out with the bathwater, you've taken the baby out of the car seat, and you put something else where the baby should be. You've thrown the soul out, and something else is more important to you than your own life, than your own eternal life. Today is the day to fix that. Today is the day to fix that. Because none of that other stuff belongs to God. He ain't going to care about that. He's got enough of that stuff. He's got enough gold. He's got enough beauty. He's got enough wealth. Anything else, you can't take it with you, as they say. But there is one thing you can take with you, and that's your life. Eternal life. Your soul. That which will live on and on and on. Amen.
Amen.